people, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jen, where I'm speaking to people who are impacted by sickle cell to educate you guys and raise awareness of the condition. Today I have with me Mary. Thank you so much for joining. Please just kind of introduce yourself. I want everyone to know like who you are, what you do, like Mary, before we dive into the world of sickle cell.
Okay, so yes, my name's Mary Editorimo. I live with sickle cell, so... Oh wait, we're not... Oh, sorry.
Just carry on.
Okay. So yes, my name is Mary Editorimo, and I do live with sickle cell, and right now I just completed my studies, so it's...
Ew.
Yeah, that's, thank goodness, got the masters. I'm going to get the...
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Masters in the place.
Yes, finally. So that's like part of what I'm focusing on now in terms of trying to navigate into research and try to contribute to the field of research and specialising in sickle cell. So that's currently what I'm doing.
I love that. I feel like when people ask what I do and I'm like, oh, I lead with I have sickle cell because I feel like everything that I do or that I even want to do is kind of focused on that as well, just because it's been a part of my journey, I guess. So just to start off with, talk to me about your journey with sickle cell then. So your HB status and like what was it like growing up with sickle cell?
So my HP status is SC, so that's, you know how there's the conversation of SS, SC.
I know, because people tend to say that SS is the...
Severe.
SS is the most severe type of sickle cell, which is sickle, right. But then SC is still severe, you still have the pain, you still have the complications.
Yeah, so it's like the spectrum of it is kind of interesting because there are some people with SS who
are fine.
Yeah, who just seem to be lovely.
Like
barely ever interact with like the healthcare system, and then also you have people with SS who are like really extreme in terms of regular admissions, a lot of pain, and then for SC you've got that similar experience where some people just don't have any challenges, and then. You know this as well anyway.
No, but this, you know, for the conversation, it's like, the whole point of this is that I want people to learn something as well. So
it's true.
The differences are, like, people think there's a difference, but being a part of the community, we see that people with SC and people with SS, you would never even know the difference. Yeah. Which is why I always like to ask as well, because...
Yeah.
You know? So growing up with sickle cell then, what's your journey kind of been like?
So in terms of journey, it's a situation where, okay, so someone was even asking me yesterday, like, oh, did you know from birth? So my parents, like my mum knew, did the test while I was in the womb. And
she did?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what's so weird? I knew the name of this test, but for some reason it's just... not on the front of my...
It's not fetal test. Oh, you knew like the proper name because you're like, you know, graduate researcher, scientist.
You can see I don't remember. And so this is the challenge where it's like, oh, all of these... the test, she did it pretty much. And then after that, so she knew, and growing up, especially in my younger years, I just remember the first crisis where it's like was having leg pain. I think my uncle was rubbing me and my mum was calling for ambulance, but this was probably like 5 years old. So that's the first memory. And then I felt like I was probably calm in comparison to like my adult years of having the condition. So it would be sports that triggers it, I'm guessing, and I'm guessing sports mainly triggered it. But obviously you'd still want to engage with school, just like... Yes. But then after university, undergrad, things got pretty wild in terms of like, firstly just wanting to be like everyone else, but now in hindsight looking at like, just because you want to, you can't, I shouldn't maybe have pushed my body to the extremes that I did, thinking I could keep up with everyone in terms of study as well as socializing, just...
That's the two together.
As well as, you know, you've moved out, so you're literally living and trying to create this like adult you now have more adult responsibilities, so you're trying to do all of that, and it just was that transition phase was intense. So that's
But
when.
do you not think that that's like the way that you learn? Because I think that I like went through a phase of like I said doing too much and pushing myself, like wanting to do this, wanting to do that, also wanting to do this, and like sometimes you have to know what your boundaries are, especially if it's like new territory of like study, independence, like everything like that, I guess. So what you said, your most of like your complications and stuff would have came like later.
Yeah. So like,
what kind of complications and stuff have you experienced?
and that's also in terms of when we were talking about like the SC and SS. You know how that some people talk about this like eyes and the ears more so attributed to like SC, and then the chest crisis and for SS. So those are that's where I do see the differences, where it's like I don't think I've had a chest crisis.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely haven't, or dealt with a pneumonia, but my family member has, and she has SE. So yeah,
It's very variable.
Yeah.
Family members, sorry, let me rewind them, because one of the things I always like to find out is, like, I'm the only person in my like entire family that has sickle cell.
Yeah.
Your family makeup is very different. So out of your family, like, who has?
So we all have it. Okay, so I've got my mum, my dad, and then my 2 younger sisters. And so dad has trait, mum has sickle cell SC, and then me and my middle sister SC, and the younger sister SS.
Okay.
So, you know, and then that's the nuclear family, like but then if we're thinking, because I was going to ask, is it a thing for you? Are you the only one, obviously in the like...
No, like my entire cousins, uncles, aunties.
Yeah.
Distant, like...
Yeah.
I don't know where. I personally think, especially like with me spending more time in Jamaica, I feel like somewhere, like maybe like my grandparents' kind of generation, there was more.
Okay.
And perhaps they just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't see it being like trait, me. I find it really hard to believe.
Yeah.
Especially because the prevalence in Jamaica, it's not as high as like countries in Africa, but definitely it's still quite high.
Yeah.
So I can't see that being the case. But sometimes, like, asking questions and knowing about family members, like, they'll say things like, yeah man, she always sickly, or she did out, and I'm just thinking, I wonder if she was, you know, like me. But a lot of them have passed on, so wouldn't know. So did your parents know, did they know the impacts of sickle cell prior to having children, do you think? Or was that just kind of like not really known of? Or was your mum quite well? Because I always think people only know if they're sick.
Yeah.
Especially with that, like our parents' generation and older, or maturer, not old. Maybe they only know if they had, you know, if they were sick, but if they didn't, they kind of just...
Yeah, I think for my mum, so she grew up in Nigeria, and so she would be unwell, but at the same time, I think maybe I don't think she would need to have gone to hospital the way that when she came here and started studying here, then the crises were like more intense, treatment or having to go to the hospital was probably more frequent. And so she had an understanding of it, but then it's meeting my dad, then it becomes a situation where it's also men testing or knowing whether they have the gene. That's another conversation. So it's like he wasn't entirely aware. And so then when they did find out, I think it was through me, that he does have the gene, then it's even the knowledge, like this back to the education, like, oh, okay, you think it's 1 in 4 chance. Back then, the way we know it's like per child, and I kind of think about it like you're doing Russian roulette per child kind of.
Yeah.
That's how I can only make sense of it all. But back then they might have thought, not even might, they did believe that it's 1 in 4 children that would have it. And now, you know, just not having the like proper education about it also affects then family planning and
Of course.
all of that. So yeah, in terms of, my mum was kind of aware, but then there's also, I remember hearing someone else speak on this podcast, but it's about like Christianity and faith and how that also is a huge driving factor of, even when I'm talking to people, it's like there's a, you know, we pray that you'll be fine, we pray that you'll be, we pray that the genotype changes.
If you pray, you'll be fine.
You know,
I hear that.
so there's all of those things that come into play.
Do you think that having, you know, your immediate family having sickle cell or type of sickle cell has actually been a blessing for you in terms of like having people that understand, you know, being able to relate to each other and stuff like that?
Dynamics are interesting. It does help to be able to quickly assist each other in terms of if something's happening in the hospital with one of my sisters or myself. Thank goodness my mum was a pharmacist, so she would be able to quickly give insights and knowledge to the healthcare professionals to be like, okay, like this needs to happen, or we're able to track the medication better. Sometimes I'll be able to talk to my sister and just bounce back ideas of how, if we're having an issue with treatment, say, okay, fine, maybe tell the nurses that this is what you want, or tell the nurses that, kind of being able to advise each other. Or there's things that we laugh about that because we both have the condition.
You can.
Yeah. And like you couldn't, so there's definitely that's the benefit, but it's harder in a sense of, you know, you're in a family home and if everybody's unwell, like,
what do you do?
Yeah, so that's, those dynamics those are the challenges and issues. And I don't think, I have always been intrigued that, okay, this whole family has the condition, okay, this is the experience, but if, let's say, one person's in a family and the rest of them don't have sickle cell, how does the household
navigate?
Yeah, and I wonder if it's just a bit more smoother per se. So yeah.
Do you find that, because I really believe in like kind of energies and stuff, that this is like just me personally, right? So sometimes I find like being around certain people or around a certain environment would drain me more or pour more energy into me. Did you ever find that if mum's not well and sis is not well, you kind of are unwell either? Because like my mum doesn't have sickle cell, right? But because we're so close, if something's wrong with her, it's almost like I don't physically feel it, but I know, I can tell. Do you guys have that kind of like, I don't know, like sixth sense almost of like, oh my gosh, I'm not well, how are you? How are you?
I definitely get the energy thing. The way I can definitely describe it is more so COVID. Honestly, that's...
Wow, yeah.
Jesus.
I can't even imagine, actually. It's so interesting because I've never spoken to anyone that has this experience.
Yeah. It's just, how to describe it? This was the time where the energy thing of what you're saying was
strong.
Yes, amplified. Because you've got the world lockdown, so we're all in the house. And if one person's triggered, and this is more so not even catching COVID, but just crisis and challenge, and you're all there. I don't know, because family, even friendships, there's a rupture sometimes. If one person's really unwell, and then, so I'm back to the family. If one person's really unwell, it's even maybe the psychological impact of seeing and knowing that the person's really unwell, has to go to hospital, and then I don't even. I'm not going to try to use this like therapy, so I would not go too deep, but there are moments where it is too intense, and that can then have a knock-on effect into the management of my health. So then you just have to learn, like, or I'm only learning now, like, okay, how much can I absorb that energy? Because if it's a thing where they're unwell and I absorb it too much or it affects me too much, then I can't actually be of help.
Can't be helpful.
So I did have to learn during COVID and post-COVID how to be there for the family when I can, and be there for like those moments, but also prioritize, like, I also have the condition.
Yeah.
So me and my sister have this joke about, like, if it's just to lighten the energy, but it's like, if we're complaining too much about the health, she'll be like, oh, you're violining. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But it's to be like, oh, so we just don't go off into a spiral where it's just like, it's just a funny tension, a joke. So yeah, I do like being able to, we get to laugh about some of the really like horrific experiences.
Because you all can relate to it, right?
Yeah. Which is a bit odd, but
I think nice. But I mean, every like family, it's like you have your little, I don't know, like code words or whatever as to like, you know, this is good.
Yeah.
Interesting, so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's like, I don't know, diving deep into the fam. Maybe I can have like the whole fam on the show, guys.
I'm thinking, like, because some of them would have to speak for themselves, especially with, there's certain things that I always wonder whether it's like
if it's their story or their information to share. I completely understand you with that. So you're now, you know, masters, a graduate, all of these things. Congratulations, first of all. From someone who chose not to go the route of university, I commend you so much. How have you found, like, you know, studying, navigating like the education system, and, you know, doing all of that successfully, because you're a graduate, she got a master's, whilst having this condition?
Honestly, so I think I was also talking to a lady yesterday, there was that notion of imposter syndrome. So sometimes I wonder if I'm still navigating through that, because it's like I still need to, I feel like unless I walk down with because I haven't done the actual graduation yet, so maybe after that moment I'll be like, I did it. Like, okay, I did it. But there's still so much to be like, did I really do this? Or like, what on earth happened? But in terms of, let's say, doing further studies and having a long-term health condition, it's a very interesting experience, because firstly, they want to have more inclusion in relation to like disabilities. They emphasize they want more diversity and having, like, say, diverse thoughts, experiences within the education space, so that and so there's an I need to figure out how to answer this question. It's just an interesting experience, because it's like, that's what they want, and it's about being able to access the support so that you can be there with having a disability. And that's where, actually, what's your thoughts on sickle cell being deemed as a disability, by the way?
Me personally, I would say that I would class myself as having a disability with sickle cell. I didn't always feel like that though. And it's so crazy, because I only feel like that in hindsight. But whilst I was probably at my most difficult times, and actually pretty much physically disabled, like worse than I am now, I didn't want to accept it.
The label.
Yeah, I didn't want to accept it, but I feel like because I was, that's why I didn't. Whereas after the fact now, thinking back, I was like, no, I really do have times where I'm completely debilitated and unable to do anything. I've spent, you know, months on crutches, months in a wheelchair, so it is a disability. I understand that it's not the same for everyone, but I personally think that it is a disability and it should be classed as a disability.
And I think that's also part of the, like, it's definitely interesting in terms of how do we view it as a disability for one. If we don't, then we won't apply and try to get the support that we need. But if we do, then, you know, it's making sure you go to the like disability support service and ask for the support that's needed. But the time that takes, bear in mind you've got work and studies that you need to deliver on. And you're like I'm spending half of my time trying to make sure I get the adequate support in place. This means getting to uni, getting from uni, because I had visual impairment, so the sickle cell affected the eye. So how the support or additional tools that I might need to make sure that I can see what I need to, and then without it straining and hurting the eye. And then there's other tools that they also have that's like accessible to people who have got like dyslexia, dyspraxia, or learning disabilities. And those tools can be used for like if you're fatigued and tired, you can kind of like listen to what's needed, speaking to the system. Now that laptops have improved, they kind of already have this.
You can do that, yeah.
But before, in a specific point in time, they didn't have that. So you could get that from the disability support service. So there's all these things that are in place, but to get it in place and to prove that you need it takes time. So that affected my like study journey a little bit.
When you say prove that you need it, so I know that there are like, you know, things that you can do if you have sickle cell, or like we're talking about sickle cell, to get extra support, which is disability services. But then in order to get it, you have to prove that sickle cell is a disability, or you have to prove how much you need. Like, how do they determine that? That you have a disability?
Yeah, so in terms of explaining, in terms of having a disability, it's just being able to provide all the right or necessary documents. So healthcare professionals will get involved and maybe write a document for you that then you can share with the disability support allowance service, and then also negotiate what the type of support is needed. So you have to prove you kind of need the cabs potentially to help you get back and forth, or
so these are some of the things that you had. So you had support with tax, so you was able to get the taxes were paid for, or
so literally the DSA covers it. It's like a grant.
That's amazing.
I just think, sorry, let me calm down. I get so excited about this, but I was like,
no, but seriously, because if there are some things that put people off. Yeah. So, and on one hand, put people off. On the other hand, people just think that they have to do it all themselves. There's no support out there.
No, I think
so. Just that as an example. Am I right in thinking that there's so many other things that you can get that will help you along this kind of higher education journey then?
Yes, and also like mentors. So like they can allocate mentors to you. So, but this goes down the route of you have to just explain it's a chronic condition, you get quite fatigued. So I'm managing all your health appointments. Usually this is allocated to people with learning disabilities, but I'm so sorry, if we look at if I look at my like health calendar and all the things I'm trying to navigate on top of my studies, it was nice to be able to have access to, they cover the cost of the mentor or like a study skills tutor. Even with all of that in place, it was extremely difficult sometimes, and I went through so much tensions with the study, but at the same time it was nice that I could talk to people about the issues of like scheduling treatment while scheduling and trying to do the research into sickle cell. So there's a lot of support out there. It's just people may not even be aware what type of support, and then also getting the disabilities service to kind of make sure they allocate you all the necessary things.
That's really good, you know, because I think that perhaps there's people that don't know. Did your study, so how long was your studying time? Like, did you start, take a break, go back, or was it just straight?
So that's it. I started straight after like COVID happened, but I'd already got accepted, so I didn't know COVID was happening. And I just had like 2 eye surgeries, so it was a situation where I started, it was quite intense. My eye we had to be hybrid, like virtually.
So screens and everything.
Everything was just so. I took a year out, moved out of the family home, so that I could also have like the mental framing to focus on the studies, and then went back, but it was a part-time course as well.
Great.
So it wasn't like I did, so it took me longer than others may, like say it's 2 years part-time, and then I took a year out, so that's the span of 3 years. But then at the same time, I think I was happy and satisfied with having to do it in that time frame. I was able to develop the relationships that I wanted to and learn at the pace that I needed to. So that was useful. And someone even said it's like people have to just, we have to also, this race of like trying to do it so quickly. And
who are you racing against?
Yeah. So slow and steady wins the race.
It is, it's true. Yeah. I've said, I was in another conversation actually that when you do it, or at the time when you arrived, that was just when you were supposed to, like not before, and just that's the right time. Like the right time is your own time. Yeah. I think that's just like really important. So I'm proud of you, girl, because we go way back. So I'm glad to know that like all our voice note conversations and everything, like you actually like you stuck at it and you succeeded, and you will walk across your stage and get your scroll and take your picture. Woo! I will be like, you know, there in spirit. Yeah. So with all your studies, like what are you doing now? Because I know that it's, as we started off by saying, like, you know, everything you do is centered around sickle cell, which I think is passion, because, you know, for us, by us, you know, you have to be a part of it in order to make a change. So what is it that you've done, and how are you kind of implementing that now as you go forward into your career or whatever it is that you're kind of doing?
Yeah, I'm in that odd transition phase. So thinking this in terms of, for the studies, I focused on, I ended up focusing specifically on sickle cell, and then the first phase was to kind of just understand and look at sickle cell from not just our perspective, but thinking about it from the perspective of the family members, the healthcare professionals, support staff, and understanding how, just because it does impact us, but there's that community ripple
100%
effect. And so that was the first phase of the research and what I was trying to do. And then the second one was, because I was in art and design school as well as like a medicine or STEM
girl, you STEM. Yeah. I love that. I love it. But it's tech, but you're also creative, and
but it means that it's so tricky to navigate those different landscapes. But generally, the point was to like co-visualize the impact of sickle cell. So the end goal for the master's project was to kind of think about, okay, how do you have sickle cell centered exhibitions? And that ended up being like, I'll bring out the little box, but I'm not sure how much. Don't judge me, but yeah. So
I am not judging. I want to see. So imagine I've seen, like, I've been knowing what you've been working on.
So this is more so concept, but I need to post online more of the visuals. But one thing, it's like educating and awareness. And if you end up feeling this, and you know when they talk about how the sickle cell
hard,
and just that element of
it. Is it squishy then?
No, all of them are hard, because we're talking about.
Oh, this is the sickle cell.
Yeah.
These are the regular ones. Yeah.
And so with the research, it was kind of like, how do we use design and art and design?
Okay, you hold them up.
Okay, this
is great.
Yeah.
Is this a little Mary on the
Firstly, do you know how hard it is to find colour?
Black Lego?
It was extremely difficult.
Okay, Lego?
It was so hard.
We need more black Lego pieces.
I think things are improving.
So that Mary can do her project to help to educate people and spread awareness of sickle cell. Okay?
So thank goodness one of the participants helped to kind of bring this to life, because it's like when you're talking to the public and you're trying to say to them, okay, what is sickle cell, and you're trying to use so many different like visual tools or visual elements to kind of help them get a sense of it. So it's like co-visualizing the impact, and so then you get people to do little doodles. Maybe if you've got time, you can do one.
I do one later, guys.
So they do that, and then the aim is to also track like health. This is seeming very confusing right now.
No. This is good. So this is the doodles. This is for us.
Yeah, so this is more so tracking and understanding, capturing. So for research, you capture to understand what is the experience of someone with sickle cell, and you can utilize that and share that information. It's like designing for empathy.
But this is good because it gives people, you know, a visual then, snapshot of what it's like, how long things take, you know, all of the things that we have to go through.
Yeah.
And the emotions that we go through as well.
But
I think this is brilliant.
Yeah. I think the aim is to also just say, how do we have like physical spaces? Because I was on the digital space for a while, but it's like, how do we bring people together in a space and use different art and design ways to visualize and showcase?
And I love this because I feel like when we do things like face to face, it's a presentation, like it's a screen, it's a PowerPoint. No one really watching this is really good. Like, it's tangible, you can feel it. I really love this.
I don't know if anyone, it really is hard. So
just quickly, for those of you that may be watching this and still don't have an idea of what sickle cell is, okay? Healthy red blood cells,
which is nice and
soft, squishy, can flow through the blood vessels very easily.
Yes.
We produce these, or sometimes these cells turn into these.
Yeah.
They are hard. They don't flow easily.
Rigid.
And then
and they clog up together.
They stick together
and create blood clots.
Right? And then this is known as a crisis. And it restricts the oxygen from going to that part of the body.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, this is good. It restricts the oxygen, and then that part of the body doesn't get oxygen. It affects the organs. It affects anywhere that blood flows. It can affect the eyes. If you've mentioned, you've had to have multiple surgeries, which have been as a result of sickle cell. I think this is brilliant. What piece of advice would you give to anyone that is, navigating this world living with sickle cell?
So advice I'd give, because there's this young person who has sickle cell, and he was talking about, like, sometimes he sees his friends, like, this, even in terms of sports, they run off or they can do things so much faster than him, and he's at a slower pace. And even hearing he's like the younger generation, hearing how they're experiencing it, and for them to know that obviously there's going to be pain and some struggles, but there's going to be, even in that slower pace, there's going to be so much richness, and there's a richness to the experience of not trying to rush so much, and knowing that regardless you will still get to the end, and you'll still be able to look back and see such like amazing learning. I'm not going to say it's going to be like the smoothest, easiest road, but to always know that, firstly, it's finding that support network. So remember the voice notes, but being able to like have the networks and support, but also just be okay with the pace at which you're going.
Yeah.
So this is definitely for, I need to say this to myself as well, because
we're really bad at taking our own advice.
honestly, so true. That would be for especially the next generation. Like, I always went like, I didn't want them. My mum would say it, she doesn't want to see us experience what she went through. And then it's like, well, I definitely understand that. Whereas like they hopefully will not experience what we've gone through when it comes to the condition or the healthcare system, and
even the education, because you've been through it. You're letting them know these are the things that you can do to make it easier for you. So, everyone's playing their small part.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me before we go?
It's the bi-coastal life. I don't know how it's going.
The bi-coastal life, darling. Jamaica is lovely. Do you know what? A lot of people know by now that I always say, like, I spend most of my time in Jamaica. I'm not like ready to say I live there yet, even though I do, but it's been amazing for my health, and for me that's the main thing. Like, the only thing that could make me leave where I've been born, where I've been raised, where my family are, where my friends are, and everyone that I've ever known to really love and have a bond with, to up and leave that and just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's purely just so that I can live. and
Yes.
survive. And
Yeah.
that's literally it. It's been really life-changing.
Yeah.
And I have my down days, I have my days where I miss people, I have my days where I'm questioning myself, like, are you mad? Is this what you came to do?
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm glad that I did that for me.
Yeah.
And in me doing that for me, it means that I'm able to be there more for others. And,
yeah.
you know, have the energy to even do things like this.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I'm glad I made the decision.
Yeah, because I'm always just like, goals.
I feel like I'm going to plan something. Y'all might be coming soon. But we'll see. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes,
You are
thanks,
amazing as always.
Thank you.